Hello everyone, this is Ask Joshi, and I'm feeling a little nostalgic today, so I decided to dig up the job application writing sample that I sent for IGN Pro League back in 2011. They posted jobs for IGN Pro League 2 and onward after successfully wrapping up their IGN Pro League 1 online-only tournament in which IdrA was the champion. They did have a couple of issues with IGN Pro League 1, being that they played the games early and replays were available and match histories were available, so the public was able to figure out who won the event before the actual commentated matches aired. They were hiring a social media marketing manager, among other roles, and at this point I had already been to every North American MLG event that existed for StarCraft 2, and of course I actually had a pretty good relationship with the players as well. Katz from Root Gaming, I actually just went to his house earlier in 2011 and hung out with them while they were still playing the IGN Pro League 1 matches and discussed with them. I interviewed, dozens of players. I had done some work for Team Liquid and Complexity Gaming already by that point, so I applied for the social media marketing manager position and had the added benefit of, being a backup commentator or interviewer or on-camera personality for them as well. This job specifically would be handling all of the social media accounts as well as posting on places like Reddit and Team Liquid for news and announcements and schedules and all of those sorts of things for IGN Pro League 2 and onward. So without further ado, here is the writing sample that I submitted as someone who could potentially also write articles for IGN Pro League. Okay, this article is dated May 5th, 2011 by yours truly, and it was submitted along with my job application and resume for IGN Pro League. KiWiKaKi, the tragic Protoss hero, a closer look at the IGN Pro League's silver medalist. Jonathan Root KiWiKaKi Garneau has achieved second place in more high-profile North American StarCraft 2 tournaments than perhaps anyone else. It's a real shame, too. KiWiKaKi has an extremely strong work ethic when it comes to winning. He has some cash saved up from his time as a professional poker player, so winning tournaments isn't about the money at all for him. If he agrees to play in a major event, it's because he wants to take first place. The title of champion and the notoriety that comes with it are all that he is concerned with. Ask any StarCraft 2 fan who has been paying attention to the North American competitive scene since the game released in July 2010 who the top Protoss players in North America are. You may hear answers like Tyler, In Control, Axlav, and Huck from a lot of them, but they should all be aware that KiWiKaKi is always a threat to any of these players. His best traits include his propensity for creativity, perfect building placements when cannon rushing or defending his base, and of course his impeccable micro. I once watched over his shoulder at a Major League Gaming event and saw him take out a proxy barracks, 3 Marines, and still win a game with his remaining 5 Blink Stalkers. I've seen him make plays with the mothership that would make you question how on earth that unit is considered balanced in any capacity. KiWiKaKi has won more games with Warp Prisms, Archons, Immortals, and Motherships than most Masters-level Protoss players have even played. So how is it then that KiWiKaKi isn't the winningest player in North America? It's got to be his personality, because it certainly isn't his play. When KiWiKaKi loses a game, there's a good possibility of tilting. High-pressure situations also seem to get the best of him. Let's review some of the events where KiWiKaKi has figuratively smashed his way into a Grand Finals, only to blow it and be left as second best. WCG held a live event in Quebec to gauge interest for StarCraft 2 in September 2010. KiWiKaKi made it look easy until the Winners Bracket Finals, where he ran up against a Protoss opponent, IFNAJ, which is Jean-Fei backwards, from Fnatic MSI. He lost 2-1, dropped to the losers bracket, defeated his teammate Slush, and then lost 2-1 again in the Grand Finals. At Major League Gaming Raleigh, he reached the Winners Bracket Finals only to lose to Huck 2-1. He cleaned up both AJTLS, Last Shadow, and Zake with no problem to reach the Grand Finals, and even managed to take a game off of Huck there, but still ended up losing 4-2 in the extended best-of-7 series. Those were 2 second-place finishes at major live events in just 1 month. Fast forward through the rest of the Major League Gaming season, and KiWiKaKi ends up as the, you guessed it, second-place seed, trailing only behind his previous championship roadblock, Liquid Huck. In the next 6 months, KiWiKaKi would win 1 tournament for $200 and come second place in 2 more North American tournaments, losing to his friend and teammate Root Minigun, also Protoss, in the Root Gaming Success Pays Invitational, and to Dignitas Naniwa at Major League Gaming Dallas 2011. KiWiKaKi and Naniwa met each other in the winner's bracket, and up to that point, neither player had lost a single game. Keep in mind that means that KiWiKaKi went undefeated against EG IDrA, Liquid Huck, ATN Zaka, and Fnatic MSI Greetorp in the pool play alone. He had taken out 2 previous MLG winners and one of the best European Protoss players before even entering the championship bracket. Despite his immaculate play throughout the tournament, Naniwa proved to be even more untouchable, winning 2-0 against KiWiKaKi in the winner's bracket and eventually defeating him 4-2 in the grand finals. So, with yet another hugely disappointing second-place finish at the hands of a Protoss, KiWiKaKi turned his focus to the newly formed IGN Pro League. He was sick of crushing Zergs and Terrans left and right, only to reach a grand final and losing to a Protoss. The IPL would be different. KiWiKaKi set aside any practice against Zerg and Terran opponents and focused solely on the Protoss vs. Protoss matchup. With Protoss making up a majority of the 16 invites, KiWiKaKi knew that his fate rested on being able to defeat the likes of Axlav, TT1, AG, In Control, and Minigun. He practiced PvP tirelessly for weeks before the game started. In the IPL, KiWiKaKi made quick work of his first-round opponent, Call Stalife, and immediately came up against one of the strongest Protoss players in North America, e.g. Axlav. KiWiKaKi gambled quickly with a proxy gateway and cannons in the first game and ended up displaying superior micro and taking the series 2-0. He breathed a sigh of relief. He was the only Protoss player left in the winner's bracket, so all he had to do was prepare for EG IDrA, who he had just beaten 2-0 a couple of weeks prior in person at MLG Dallas. Unfortunately for KiWiKaKi, he grossly underestimated his opponent. IdrA had been practicing against Protoss opponents just as much as KiWiKaKi had, and had hit upon a couple of strategies that removed the so-called Protoss death ball from the games entirely. IdrA employed a mixture of drop play, air harassment, and uniquely timed rushes, and made sure that no 200 supply army would come crashing onto his creep. KiWiKaKi, bruised and battered, dropped into the loser's bracket unexpectedly and suddenly found himself facing several strong opponents in 6jax Vibe, EG Axlav, and Dignitas Select. KiWiKaKi put his foot down on both Vibe and the already once defeated Axlav to enter into the lower bracket finals against Dignitas Select. Select, a very abusive Terran player, took a rather convincing 2-0 lead over KiWiKaKi in this best-of-5 series. Perhaps our Protoss powerhouse might not even have a chance to get second place in the first ever IPL. On the verge of elimination, KiWiKaKi went into overdrive and managed to win 3 games straight against perhaps the best Terran player in all of North America, in what I consider to be the most evenly matched series of the entire IGN Pro League. He was riding a high straight into the grand finals of yet another massive North American tournament. His 6th, to be exact. 4 times in the past he had come out on the losing end, but once he did manage to take the whole thing. This could be his second major victory, and he was ready to take on the Zerg terror EG IDrA, who was responsible for knocking him into the lower bracket in the first place. In the first game, KiWiKaKi benefited from concealing his 4 warp gate strategy and eventually deployed an incredible amount of force fields on top of IDRA's burrowed roaches to force a quick GG. That made it 4 victories in a row for our Protoss protagonist. He had shown himself and all of the IPL viewers that he can in fact take a game off of EG IDrA. The Zerg player was mortal, and the Protoss player was confident and precise. In Game 2, we were treated to a brilliant macro game in which KiWiKaKi made a huge force of Blink Stalkers supported with sentries and colossi. IDrA had only made roaches and corruptors throughout the game, even to the point where KiWiKaKi had a mothership out on the field. The moment IDrA saw the cloaking field go over KiWiKaKi's armies, he left the game. KiWiKaKi was on a roll, 5 wins in a row against arguably the best Terran player and best Zerg player on the continent, and suddenly he was only 1 victory away from shedding his second best stigma. All he had to do was perhaps a skilled cannon rush or 4 warp gate strategy to play off of IDRA's rage-prone personality, and he would become the first ever IPL champion. Cue Game 3 on Shattered Temple. These 2 players must have had deja vu because they met earlier in the tournament on this same map in these same close flying positions. IDrA had won that game very convincingly with a nice roach and speedling timing, so KiWiKaKi should have been prepared for a similar strategy here in the grand finals. I say should have been because he very obviously was not. He went for a 3 gateway expansion build that is considered to be a very safe opening against macro-oriented Zerg players like IDrA. Going against the norm, IDrA went for a repeat performance and did so quite beautifully, taking KiWiKaKi out with a flood of roaches and speedlings around the 10-minute mark. KiWiKaKi still led the series 2-1, he was still only 1 game away from becoming the champion. Losing to this roach build didn't matter, right? It was just a bump in the road to the elation of becoming the winner. Game 4 on Shakira's Plateau could have been a chance for KiWiKaKi to try something cheesy and take a quick win, but he decided not to do that. Instead, he went for another, very safe build and performed a Forge plus Fast Expansion opener. IdrA won in their previous encounter in the winner's bracket on this map with a multitude of drops and small attacks. This game would be no different as he executed several roach drops throughout the game in KiWiKaKi's main base and natural expansion. Dissecting the forces of a Protoss Gateway and Colossi mixture is very vital for a Zerg player to have a chance in a macro game. IdrA took Game 4 with some great play, and suddenly the tournament came down to just one final game on Terminus RE. So there we were, KiWiKaKi, our consistent second-place finisher, our North American version of Marine King, facing off against EG IdrA, a proven champion during the beta, MLG, and beyond for one last game. Would KiWiKaKi take a gamble? Would he let it all ride on some proxy gateways or a cannon rush? KiWiKaKi eventually had too much respect for IdrA's play and knew that any sort of cheese was risky. I'm sure that IdrA has faced every variety of cheese on the Korean and North American ladders in his storied StarCraft II career. Cannon rushing could prove to be suicidal. No, KiWiKaKi would not risk it all on a single probe and pylon. He would continue to play safe and once again employ a Forge and Fast Expansion. This was basically IdrA's greatest wish come true. Perhaps you didn't see the game at the DreamHack Stockholm Invitational, where IdrA perfectly executed Hydralisk and Roach drops on the two-time GSL champion OGS MC and made him look silly on this very map, Terminus RE. Perhaps you didn't see the one game that he took off of Cruncher in the TSL 3, where he did the exact same thing, also on Terminus RE. IdrA and drop play against Protoss opponents on Terminus RE are basically synonymous. KiWiKaKi showed a valiant effort throughout this Game 5, lasting longer than any of us mere mortals could have against the relentless assault across 4 bases that IdrA was controlling with waves of Overlords, Roaches, and Hydralisks. Before he knew it, the tournament was over and KiWiKaKi had come second place once again. No matter the reasons for his loss, KiWiKaKi has shown us time and time again that he is capable of defeating the best players in North America. He may not have the most tournament wins, but I'm willing to bet he has one of the highest ratios of tournaments participated in to grand finals reached in the entire world, and that shows for certain that he is one of the best players out there. Keep your eye out for a creative, beastly French-Canadian Protoss player in more grand finals in the near future and in the many months and years of StarCraft II to come. That's it. Thanks for listening and reading along here. I'm planning on doing some more nostalgia trips in the near future, so I hope that you enjoyed it and you'll like and subscribe and all that stuff if you're interested in more throwbacks as well as the games that I'm playing in 2025.